Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Timothy Shockley, Dream Muscle Podcast. And I'm with a friend of mine, Adam Meredith from St. Louis, Missouri, correct?
Yep, right here in St.
So,
Louis.
yeah, St. Louis, Missouri. And this podcast is brought to you by DreamMuscleCoffee.com. If you have not been to DreamMuscleCoffee.com, please go over there right now and support. I'm telling you, the most phenomenal, the best coffee in the world. And I'm a little bit biased. Juice infused coffees, protein infused coffees, CBD infused coffees, uh, any type of specialty coffee to your liking. We have it on the site. So make sure you go to dreammusclecoffee.com and patronize us. But thanks for coming on the show, Adam.
Yeah, man, glad to be here, dude. I really appreciate you having me on the show, dude.
Yeah, bro. Just tell the viewers, a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and kind of what you're doing right now.
Yeah, so I'm here. I live here in St. Louis, Missouri. I find that when I telling people about myself is one of the hardest things because it's kind of like, at what point in my life did you meet me? Because for so long I did the fighting thing. So, at one point I would be like, oh, I'm a professional fighter and this is what I do, because I did that for so long.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just spend a lot of my time, man, just pursuing my passions, which is building my company, Imposed Will, and then, building my podcast, Outside Perspective. So between doing those two things and then just spending time with my kids, my two kids, 11 and about to be 13, and then Ju Jitsu. That's pretty much how I spend my time, man, just kind of pursuing my passion and just trying to build something that's going to create a life that I want to live.
It's interesting you say, following your passions and whatnot. And, I just kind of just skimmed down. I went down to Instagram and I'm like, this is crazy. Like watching your Instagram from like a long time ago all the way up is it's like a beautiful story, man. You see the fighting, then you see the inspiration, then you see the family, then you see the beginning stages of you building your podcast and your brand, and then you look up to today and it's like, wow, this man is being consistent. And that's one of the things I want to say to you, man. Like, even just digging into you a little bit, I'm like, this guy is walking with a little bit of consistency. And so what that tells me is that you really believe in what you're doing, man. And so kudos to you for that. Talk about the professional fighting days. Boxer, I see you was a boxer. MMA.
MMA was the focus. Yeah. Okay. So MMA was the focus, but I did boxing, I did kickboxing, I did Muay Thai. At the professional level, it was MMA, boxing, and kickboxing. I had fights in all of those, but I did do also amateur Muay Thai. I fought at a gym where our coach, Mike Rogers, he wanted us to do everything. So as an amateur, it didn't really matter what your record was, because the ultimate goal was to, become a professional and then make it to the larger show. And once you're professional, of course, your record does matter. And even that's kind of debatable in the MMA scene if you put on exciting fights. But so I've done a little bit of everything, man. I did that for quite some time. I was a wrestler growing up. I came to St. Louis on a wrestling scholarship at Lindenwood University.
Okay.
And so I've always just been very competitive. I was very drawn to individual sports. I did also play football in high school, but I definitely kind of found my niche in wrestling and the individual pursuit. So that's what brought me up here to St. Louis. And then my then girlfriend, fiance, soon to be wife, now ex-wife, we had my son. So I was 20 years old and I had a son. And so I stopped wrestling and I was working full time and still going to school full time. And then that's what kind of transitioned me into wrestling. I still had that itch to compete. I never really wanted to work like a typical 9 to 5. I went that whole college route because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. That's what you're told you're supposed to do. So that's what I did.
Right.
And, but I always wanted to do something different. Like I always wanted to forge my own path. And the ultimate goal was to be like a professional football player whenever I was a kid, but like, I'm not a giant. So that was out of the question for me. So
yeah.
But I still wanted to be a professional athlete. So I gravitated towards fighting. And, for me, it wasn't like, I never really considered myself a fighter. Sure. Like I kind of did some fighting whenever I was a kid, but like I'm not that guy who enjoys fighting. I just
Sure.
enjoyed the athletic pursuit, and there was just something about just being dominant. There's just imposing your will. That's what it really was about for me, just that complete dominance. And so that's what it was for me, dude. I just wanted to build a life. I'm still kind of pursuing it now. I just wanted to build an exceptional life doing something that other people weren't doing. And at that time, my passion was going to be fighting, so that was the route that I chose. So I did that for a very long time.
Yeah, that's cool. So what inspired in growing up? Was the environment inspired sports, or did you just say wake up one day and say, hey, I want to play football or baseball or want to be a professional sports? Or like for me, I grew up in an urban community, so like I grew up in a community that wasn't compatible with success.
Yeah.
So, and my parents, they wasn't really huge sports people, but it was just a way for us to stay active and stay out of trouble, stay busy, and that turned into something else for me. But as a gateway out of where I come from into something different. So for you, like, was that like an outlet, or it was just something you just picked up, or did somebody inspire it, or?
Yeah, so for me, I was inspired by an uncle. So I come like in Missouri. I'm from backwoods dirt Missouri. So like for real, I literally grew up on like a dirt road on my grandma's farm. I spent a ton of time growing up. So I'm from a place called like Potosi, Missouri. There's maybe 15 or 1600 people. And it's almost like the extreme opposite. It's extreme rural, and
Right.
there's not really a lot of aspiration there either. So for me, I actually had an uncle who played Division I football, went to Purdue, and then ended up. I think he either was drafted or maybe went on as like a free agent, played for the Dolphins, and then ended up kind of doing the practice squad thing. So for me, that was my inspiration. I was like, all right, well, I had a direct family member, somebody I knew who did it. So I'm like, of course I can do. Like, there was no question in my mind, like I was going to do that thing. And then as I got older, I just physically I wasn't as big as those motherfuckers, dude. You gotta be a giant, dude. But yeah, man, that was really my aspiration, man. Just coming from like dirt woods where there's not a whole lot going on. There's not a lot of aspiration to kind of get out of that community. But having a family member who did do that, and hearing just the people who talked about him, and he was just like a hometown hero. So that was just something that I always aspired to from just a very young age. So like whenever I moved away from that area to Jefferson City, which is like the capital, still not a whole lot bigger, but there's like 50,000 people there. And then I just kind of continued on with that same mindset of this is the path, and fortunately that school actually had like a pretty good program, so it just kind of just
Are you back?
Okay,
cool. Yeah, I think you froze. I think you froze up for a second.
What's the last thing that you heard?
Jeff City.
Oh yeah, 50. I was just saying. Yeah, when I moved to Jeff City, they were just a much larger school and city, and they had a better program, so it just kind of fueled that drive.
Right. That's what's up, man. That's cool. Yeah, I think after 2020, man, hey, it's hey, coming from a small town is not a bad, or moving to a small town is not a bad thing, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not that bad, man.
It's not that bad, bro. Yeah. So what are your thoughts? So being inspired, fighting, you said, you was like, you know what? I want to create my life around my passion, the 9 to 5 thing. I find similar, I'm very compatible to what you're talking about, just because like, being a sports guy, and really, I played professional football until I was 28 years old. 2013, I retired. So
you are the giant. You are the giant. You're that motherfucking. You're the man, dude.
Hey man, it was just something that I just, there's not too many things you can fully express yourself in that warrior mode.
Yeah.
And so for me, football was not only a way out, but it was a way to just grow. I was talking last night to a buddy of mine. I'm like, hey, I got to be around some of the most phenomenal people around the country, actually around the world.
Oh yeah.
I got to connect, man. I got to be introduced to different cultures and different styles and different language and different belief systems and different coaching styles and different it was just crazy, man.
Yeah.
And it expanded my worldview, which made me a better person. And but following my passion was something that I'm like, you know what? I don't want to I tell people that the clock is ticking. God don't stop the clock. We can't call time out, bro. And be like,
Right.
all right, give me a second to get my stuff together. No, it's a running clock,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't know when our time is up. That's why I like a quote you put on your page that was like, it's not about how many years you live. It's about the life in those years. And that's a beautiful thing, man. And so, like, what would as a professional, what was some of the hardest things you had to overcome, or because a lot of times when you're an amateur and then when you become a professional, I feel like it changes a little bit.
The business can definitely change things for sure.
Yeah,
Dude. It definitely changes things. But dude, you said something that just made me think of because I'm so big into jujitsu now, and all the walks of life that I get to interact with and encounter, and that's the beautiful thing about just sports in general. You get to interact with so many different types of people and from all walks of life. Whenever on a typical day, I can walk into the jujitsu gym and we can have a UFC fighter in there, or we can have a plumber and a doctor and a mechanic and an accountant, and all these people are all on the mats. And when one of them is 22 and another one is a 65-year-old plumber, and we can have all these people in everything in between, but you would never know, we're all on the mats together, and you get all these different perspectives and all these different backgrounds. And my favorite aspect of training is literally just sitting on the mats. We're all dead tired, we're all relaxed, and we're just having conversations. And that's when you're going to have your mind blown, and just some of the best wisdom just dropped on you. It's like one of my favorite things about sport is just the community.
Most definitely, bro. And that brings us back to even 2020. 2020. I'm gonna grab your thoughts here in a little bit on 2020, but 2020 was a crazy year for a lot of different people in a lot of different ways. No matter what the belief, what the political structure is, it was just a crazy year.
Yeah.
And I told somebody, I said, it's crazy, man. When we look at sports, from jujitsu to MMA to boxing, kickboxing, football, basketball, baseball. You've been, on the mat. I've been in the locker room. You've been in the locker room. And one of the things we find is that during those times of community, during those times that you're coming together, or during those times you're hanging out with your teammates or whatnot, nobody cares about race, bro.
No.
Nobody cares about it doesn't exist.
We're all just there with a common goal.
We got a common goal, and we all just hanging out and shooting the breeze, man, and not even thinking about that stuff. And it's crazy, man, to see what the world last year looked like outside of the domains that we're used to. And it's like, dang, sports can be a great equalizer,
Oh, very much so, man.
Entrepreneurship. I told somebody, I was like, you put 5 entrepreneurs in a room, no matter if they're a millionaire, billionaire, or a thousandaire, you put them in a room, and I guarantee you, we're going to forget about color, status, everything. And everybody's going to find some type of common struggle, common success, common habit. We're going to all be talking about either how much money we've lost or how much money we've made, or a bad employee, or or a failure, or a double failure, or bankrupt, or
Right, dude.
At some
Because yeah, dude. I mean, we're all just people, and we're all energy, and it's like you're gonna gravitate people who are putting out the same energy as you, right? So
yeah,
at the end of the day, like you recognize the similarities in people, and you gravitate towards that, and we can find those commonalities, right? And
yeah,
I think it just speaks to like the narrative that's put out and how false that is, because if all you do is pay attention to like what's on this,
yeah,
then you're gonna think that what's really going on outside of your house is madness. But really, man, like we're all just people. It's not as
yeah.
crazy out there as you would, as I think somebody would probably have you
Nah,
to believe. You know what I mean?
right,
Like, man, it's
right.
not that crazy out there.
Nah,
It can be for sure, but
sure.
man, dude, we're not as divided as I think people want us to believe.
Facts, man. All facts, bro. I'm telling you, man, it's crazy. It's and yeah, and so that's
Yeah.
that's what I'm just trying to I think as it relates to last year, I was telling a buddy of mine, I said I almost got caught up in it. I
Mm,
almost got caught up in it,
me
man.
too.
And one day I sat back and was like, you know what? That's just not my brand. That's not. That's just not what. That's not my. That's not what my mission is. That's not what my assignment is. That's not what my life purpose is. My purpose is to inspire, man. So like, and to help people find their big idea and to tap into those their passions and help them towards their dreams and their goals, man. And I'm like, me getting caught up into this political stuff that is only going to last for a minute.
Right.
After this season's over, nobody's gonna remember. I mean, nobody's gonna. We're not gonna
Yeah.
be talking about this stuff, man.
Dude, the amount of anxiety I was feeling for no reason, just because I'm just all pent up and just ready to fight for no reason. I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. So
Yeah.
take a step back and just, I listened to this book by Matthew McConaughey, his Green Lights book,
Okay.
and I liked it so much. Actually, I bought the hard copy because I want my son to read it, and I'm actually going to read it too.
Okay.
And but he said something in there that has just hit me so hard, and it actually kind of relates to your question earlier, like the adversity and stuff. Like I, the quote is less impressed, more involved, and he talks about applying that to just life. Just don't be so impressed with everything. Like don't put everything up on a pedestal. And I can relate to that so much, because whether it was in sports where I had an opponent and I maybe gave them too much credit and I thought they were better than they were, or I'm going to go sit down and podcast with somebody and I'm just so excited to sit down with them because of just whatever their reputation is or whatever the case may be. Like you put these people up on a pedestal, you put these situations up on a pedestal. You're just so impressed with them that you're not involved. It says, so the next part of that, like be more involved. So less impressed, more involved. So like
That's good.
actually take part in life. You know what I mean? Like don't just sit back and watch it. Don't be so in awe with it all. And that's something I've just been really trying to live my life by. So I'm not just going to just sit back and just whatever social media tells me is going on in the world, I'm just going to take that as truth. Or
Well, what? Oh, there we go.
we good?
Yep, we good.
So I was just saying that I just try to keep that in mind, to where you don't get so lost with the situation or the person or whatever the news is telling you that you forget, man. Like go live life and be involved and take part, and like don't put these things on a pedestal. Like actually go experience it for yourself, man.
Thanks.
And dude, that's just kind of one of those things, man. Like whether it's adversity from business right now, whether just mentally, or uh, a deal falls through, or the podcast that I wanted didn't work out or whatever the case may be, man. It's just like, man, you just got to keep moving forward, man. Like, this is just like, that's life. Like, you can't get so wrapped up in these stories that we build up in our mind that to forget to, just go be a part of it, dude.
Facts, bro. Like, I that's one of the things, my wife and I, we were kind of just saying, like, after 2020, we was like, you know what? Life is short. We want to just live life full of experiences, man. We want to just, it's crazy you say something on the, go find out, and so I'm back and forth between Kansas City and Vegas all the time. Actually live in both places.
Vegas every other week.
Vegas and Kansas City.
Oh, Kansas City. All right.
Yeah. So kind of right down the street from me. Well, yeah. They say kind of right down the street, but it's still a little ways.
2 hours.
And so it's funny, man. I was on an airplane one day and I had to drive back and forth to people just moving stuff. And last year, it came out that actually last few years, the media has been talking about, and, Bill Gates has been talking about overpopulation and, there's not enough land and there's not enough, we're running out of resources, this and that, bro. And I got on the airplane one day and just looked out the window and I was like, whoa, there's a lot of land out here. And then when I just drove from Kansas City to Vegas and I saw so many for sale and so many for lease signs, man, on land. I was like, this is crazy. There's a lot of land out here.
Dude, there's a lot. There's just so much.
And it kind of just goes back to what you were saying was like, I'm gonna listen to what you're saying, but then I'm gonna go out here and actually I'm gonna look and be like, hold up. I hear y'all saying one thing, but something's not adding up.
Yeah, there's a disconnect there for sure.
Yeah, and so it's just the same thing as training, man. I've always been when I was playing sports, and I was always I always trained really hard, man. Physically, I didn't get the nutrition stuff down throughout my career, man. I never got that down.
What position did you play?
So in college, I played running back. And then running back, fullback in college, and then when I got to the Arena Football League, I played O-line, D-line. So I was about 260, 70 in college, and then I when I got to the Arena League, man, it was a little bit different, and so I converted over to a defensive lineman. Because that was my greater chances of making the team. And so, and I did. And I stayed there my career, man. And so I bulked up to I was around 325 when I got done.
Whoa.
Yeah, bro. So I played 7 years, man.
Dude.
7 years.
And
we had a lot of fun. It's hard. Oh, for sure. And that's why I got into cannabis and CBD and some other. I'm all natural now, like holistic, and I was on a lot of medication and stuff, man, for pain and headaches and all kind of crazy stuff, man. But now I'm taking the holistic path, path, man, and it's been a blessing, man. And but yeah, it's hard on your body. And it's hard on your brain and your mind, and so we're working through a lot of that right now with several doctors, and I got professionals on board, man. So we created a couple of products to help with that, and so yeah, man, it's rough, man. But so funny. Speaking of jiu-jitsu, I saw you put on your post a while back and it said 10 years, and that was like 2019. Yeah. So have you been doing that for 10 years?
Yeah, so I started training like jiu-jitsu in 2009. So I guess I'm coming up on 12 years of jiu-jitsu now.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's been a long time, man.
Jiu-jitsu is a sport that I deeply, deeply respect, man. So my old pastor got me in. So I did jiu-jitsu for like 2 weeks, bro. I absolutely loved it. I loved it, man. I got too busy, man. And the money that I was going to be paying, I mean, it's not a cheap sport, you know, it adds up pretty quick. So I was like, you know what? I don't know if I can pay $200 a month. I don't know if I can make that commitment. I'm getting to a place now where I'm thinking about going back for just the extra cardio and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, I loved it, man. I loved the discipline of it. It was challenging me mentally.
Right.
And I haven't had anything challenge me like that since I left the game of football. So
yeah,
I loved it. And so, but I want to say to you, man, when I started learning like jiu-jitsu, when you have a belt in jiu-jitsu, you've earned that belt. Because it takes a long time to get those belts in jiu-jitsu.
I will say, like our head instructor, Rodrigo Vaghi, he's very famous for saying not all belts are created equal. And that is so true because in theory, yeah, it is not easy to get a promotion in jiu-jitsu, and it should be difficult and it should take a long time. Now that isn't the case at all places, but fortunately,
okay.
Yeah, man, I do train under like the lineage that I'm under, where we have awesome instructors and we have a great team. So yeah, man, it's been a journey, man. And the thing about jiu-jitsu is, it's everybody's own individual journey. So some people can get those promotions faster. Some people it takes longer. I'd say throughout the 12 years I've been doing it, there's definitely been breaks just with life. Sometimes you take a year off here, a year off there, or you get injured or whatever the case may be. But yeah, it's definitely not an easy thing to progress. A lot of people get their blue belt and then they just quit. It's like this running joke among the entire jiu-jitsu community, right? Like so many people will get that belt and then you'll never see them ever again. And it's almost kind of weird because I've been around my gym for so long where it's kind of messed up actually, where I won't even like learn people's names until they've been around for a few years, because you'll meet somebody, dude, and I have every intention to remembering who they are. And then maybe you'll see them 2 or 3 times and then you'll never see them ever again. So it's definitely not a sport that is for everybody. Some people get into it and, they just realize, hey, I don't have the time, or it's a little bit harder on my body than I realized, or man, like this is just more of a challenge than my ego will let me participate in, because that's the biggest thing, man. In the very beginning, you just have to survive, and you just have to learn to relax and learn how to breathe and just learn which way is up. And that's a hard time for a lot of people, because whenever you get bit by that jiu-jitsu bug, you just want to just learn it all as fast as you can. But it's like, yeah, dude, it's like drinking from a water hose. It's impossible. You can't. You just need to survive.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, man.
I was at the library buying books. I mean, I was at the bookstore getting books and everything, bro.
I bet, bro.
Yeah, I was like, man, I found my next thing, And like you said, I was that guy. I was there 2 weeks. I was like, I can't commit to this right now, man.
Dude, it takes everything. It takes a long. It's really just about just understanding that this is the thing that you're just going to be doing for a long time. It's like once you just accept that, and then like I'm just going to be doing this thing, and then the belts and progression will just come along the way, and you're not so much worried about them. So I'm kind of like, it's like a double-edged sword when it comes to the belts and promotion to me, because on the one hand, there's this whole philosophy of train without expectation, to where you're just training to train and to get better and to progress. And if you trust in your coaches, the belts will come. You know what I mean? You're not just training to, you're not going to show up to like 60 classes and then expect to get a promotion. Like that's not how it works, because everybody's on their own kind of timeline with progression. Some people move fast, some people move slow. So there's that whole train with that expectation, which I understand. But on that same note, it's like, I come from a place where if you like, success is just expected for me. Like I had a football, and he's my wrestling coach, and he's like, you should expect to win. I don't want to see you over celebrating, because when you do the work and you do the things you're supposed to do, then like winning is what happens. It's just the result. And so it's like A plus B equals C. And it's the same thing with success, right? Like you do the work, and there's a formula and there's a process, and you do these things. And over time, it doesn't necessarily happen fast. Eventually you reach success. And for me, that's kind of like, in itself almost a double-edged sword, because whenever I do well, I expect it, and whenever I don't do well, I'm just so hard on myself.
Right.
But whenever you do certain things, you do begin to expect an outcome. So it's like, all right, well, if you have a conversation with your coach and they're like, all right, well, I want you to do X, Y, and Z, and then you do X, Y, and Z, then I can understand how you begin to expect to kind of progress through the line. So it's just kind of like just that balance of just managing your expectations and just doing the work and just trusting the process, and just know that, like, the belts will come, and then you just progress along the way. So it's just tough. It's just one of those things, because I'm almost to my black belt, and
oh wow, okay.
Yeah, so, like, in my mind, dude, like, I'm a fucking black belt. Like, that might probably rub some people the wrong way, me just saying it that way, but it's like I know the work that I've done, and I know where I'm at. Like, I'm a fucking black belt, so it's just a matter of time, like my coach giving it to me. So I don't know. It's just kind of one of those things in the jiu-jitsu community that's kind of weird, where, like, for me, it's like almost more of a new school thought process on it. Whereas in martial arts, because there is a lot of, like, traditional thought process, it can be kind of rooted in some older thought process some of the way, like, some of the times. So kind of get like this old school way of thinking, and then, like, now in jiu-jitsu you're seeing like this evolution, and you're seeing this whole new wave of guys coming along, and then with that comes a whole new way of thinking. So it's just kind of interesting to see how the sport's progressing.
I love it, bro. I love
that was a long rant.
I love it. Dude, I absolutely love the way the whole fight world is evolving on a lot of different fronts, man.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
I love it, man. From MMA to UFC to the professional fighting league to the dude, I love it all. Like, it's all from the amateur, bro, to the pro. It's like it's just all the same to me, bro.
Yeah.
It's just fun. It's just so much. I was telling somebody, I was like, you know why I don't like football? I don't like football because there's not very many opportunities in it. So you take a kid from when he's young, he works, he plays pee-wee, middle school, high school, college, and then after college, he's like, there's nowhere to go. If he's not if he's not shooting for the NFL, there's nowhere for that kid to go.
Right.
But like in basketball, you can go overseas. You can go. There are a lot of independent leagues. Baseball, you got the different minor leagues, and
right.
You got some independent leagues as well. Hockey, soccer. The fight world is wide open. I mean, there's so many different areas in the fight world you can tap into. But football is like, if you don't go to the NFL or the indoor or the arena football league, it's like there's nowhere for you to go.
Yeah, there's not a lot of opportunity with that, man. Yeah, and it's just so hard on your body. But, dude, I mean, that's the sport that attracts the best athletes in the world still, I mean, you're seeing some of those athletes kind of transition into other things, but still, man, pretty much football, basketball, baseball are getting the best athletes in the world, and football probably at the top of that list. It's crazy. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
It's so hard on your body. I guess I quit fighting because one of my biggest reasons was I started worrying about my brain too much. Started learning about CTE and TBI and all that stuff. And man, I just think about the amount of headaches I had from playing football just in like middle school and high school. I'm just like, oh my goodness, man. It's just
okay. So now
these league kids doing just trucking kids, man. I'm just like, oh my gosh.
So now you get into the nitty gritty and all the good stuff that I've dealt with over the last 6 years. So I'm going to have to bring you back for another show, and we're going to talk all about this, man. CTE, brain trauma, mental health.
Yeah, anytime.
Because it's really affected my life negatively, and so I'm on a path now to correct some of these things, man. And I'm an advocate for brain health. I'm an advocate for kids not participating in heavy head-to-head, full-on contact sports when they're young, man. I learned a lot from my doctors. I tell people I've seen every doctor up under the sun, man, from the psychiatrist to the neurologist to the neurology a neurologist psychiatrist to the NFL psychiatrist to the concussion management specialist. Dude, I've been through it all, man. And so I'm about to bring you back for another show on that specifically, bro, because I think we can dive in. We can really dive in. But that leads to another thing that relates to you as a part of your discipline. You are big into meditation and really finding that space to that stillness. And that's something that I've picked up even over the last couple of years, man. Just finding times to just be still.
Right. Yeah,
you
man. I find it really weird that whenever I talk to people and they say they don't want to be alone with their thoughts, I didn't realize that was a thing because I spend so much time just sitting with my thoughts. So yeah, I really enjoy it. So I've done like a float tank a couple different times with, that's like the sensory deprivation. But in general, yeah, dude, I spend a lot of time just sitting and thinking and just being with my thoughts and trying to just kind of just figure out maybe why I think certain things or why I feel the way I feel, or just kind of just tap in with myself and just kind of assess, you know what I mean? And also just decompress, and I find that I'll have my best ideas whenever like I'm just sitting there, just being still. It's so pretty much every morning it's like the same routine. Like I pretty much just like wake and bake every morning. So it's like a quiet time for me where it's just kind of getting I'm setting my intentions for the day and just kind of planning out, my plan of attack and just being with myself. And yeah, man, I've definitely found a lot of benefits just from taking that time to kind of check in and just be still and be quiet, man. Because for me, I do have a propensity towards like overthinking, and which can lead to anxiety and almost like a paralysis by analysis situation, to where it's like, oh shit, just slow down, take a second, let's just focus on the next step. I don't got to worry.
World War II comes back. All right, there you go. Be back.
Did you hear?
All right. Are you keep going?
Oh, what was the last thing you heard?
You was just talking about wake and bake.
Oh, yeah, I'm just saying, like, yeah, man. So I was just saying, like, I really appreciate that time to be able to just be still and just be quiet and be with my thoughts. Yeah. Like I said, I have that propensity towards kind of overthinking and being anxious and kind of living too far in the future. So I'll just take that time to breathe. I'll randomly, so many times throughout the day, just stop and just take a massive deep breath just to like slow my breathing down and just like get present and just to check in with my body and just see where I'm at, and then just take that next step. There's been so many times to where, for me, I've, like I said, I don't know if this cut out or not, but I do have like a propensity towards like anxiety where, yeah, I'll overthink it and I'll think about the next 20 steps instead of just focusing on just the next step and just relaxing. So taking that time to just be still and be present, and it's definitely very helpful for me.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. So real quick, just talk about your podcast. And I looked and I'm like, man, this dude you like on 100 and something episodes.
Yeah, like I think I'm on 195. I think I've released 194. I have my one. I did 195 a couple weeks ago. I recorded it. But yeah, dude, the show's called Outside Perspective. It's coming up on 3 years of the show.
I saw that.
Yeah, I started it, man. Again, kind of with that same drive. Whenever I started fighting, man, I just wanted to build something and to do something that I'm passionate about. I really enjoy listening to podcasts, and I just enjoy the entire medium. And I just wanted to essentially, man, it's like you see what Joe Rogan's doing. It's like, I want to do that too. That's pretty fucking awesome. So I want to sit down and have awesome conversations with interesting people and chat. And so I'm like, man, I'm really good at talking to people. I think I can do this too. So, man, that's what I decided to do, man. And I just want to just sit down with as many interesting and awesome people as I can and just chat and meet with all these people and just gain some perspective. So I'm just on a mission, dude, to do that and just build this massive community and platform. You know, I feel like there's just a lot to be gained from just having conversations. I don't naturally have empathy, and having been an athlete, pursuing like an individual pursuit for so long, it's a very selfish pursuit. So I didn't spend a lot of time connecting with a lot of people. It was always about just like what I needed to do. So for me, it's kind of twofold of where now I can actually take the time and like actually get to know people and really create an actual connection and help develop that empathy. So
Sure.
yeah, man. The first year I was rocking and rolling. I was doing, 2 episodes a week. I really just wanted to get to that 100 episode mark. Like that was my whole driving force. So I really rock and rolled for that first year. We're still rock and rolling into year 2, and then COVID really slowed everything down. For me, I like to do all those conversations in person.
I saw that. Yeah.
Definitely have pivoted and did some more remote ones during the COVID time. I don't think anybody really would have cared, but for me, the biggest thing is really like actually being able to like sit down with somebody. So I just kind of chose to kind of like let that slow down last year, which I mean, I feel like everything slowed down for pretty much everybody last year for the most part.
Sure.
So right now, man, I'm just back to rocking and rolling. I'm doing the 1 episode a week right now, but I'm just getting momentum and rebuilding my pipeline and going to get back to the 2 episodes a week and just kind of just keep that rocking and rolling. So right now, my whole life is just finding the balance between growing imposed will and growing outside perspective and trying to make both of those obsessions work.
Do you find it difficult trying to, because I feel like one thing I love about what you're doing with us, with your podcast and your brand, is that I feel like it kind of goes together.
Yeah, I think they can help each other for sure.
Yeah.
And it's like, as I meet people and as I talk with people, it can help build the brand and, I can help further. So I think they can help work with each other. And I'm just kind of at that stage of where like I'm just a one-man band right now. So
sure.
It's I'm just getting to the point to where I'm just gonna have to start building my team and help have getting more help with different things so I can just take some things off of my plate and just free up my time with different things. So that's kind of the progression where I'm at right now. Because for example, like the podcast, I absolutely love doing the podcast, but I don't really love working on the podcast, if that makes sense.
I know what you're talking about.
Like I got my workflow down pretty well, but as I've as I've improved the podcast and I've added video and I'm taking these videos and breaking them down, it's like I don't really enjoy doing all that video editing and shit like that, but I do it. And so eventually, like my next step is to hire somebody for that. So it's like that way I can do the podcast and not necessarily spend so much time working on the podcast, and then I can spend more of my time working on imposed will, because I really want to be spending all my time working on imposed will, but I love actually doing the podcast. So it's just I'm it's gonna work. It's not if it will work. It's just I'm just trying to find it right now.
That's the hard thing about being an entrepreneur, man. It's like it's like it's hard finding that balance between the brands. It's like there's times, man, where I'm like neglecting like a brand because I like favor one of the other, but the other one is just as important. And it's like, and I'm like, okay, I gotta find how I can connect these, and that's what inspired me to do the podcast, because I was like, you know what? Instead of putting marketing dollars into like a lot of ads and different things, I was like, how about we just create our own podcast? That way we can promote our coffee and our different products, and I can have cool conversations at the same time. And we can put our marketing dollars into promoting the podcast with our products. And so I was just like, finding ways to merge everything, man. Because it's just like I'm like human. I'm like I don't. I like having a conversation. I don't like working on it.
Yeah, dude, I totally get it, man. And because like, so the first 2 years, or at least the first year, like I've actually had this imposed will brand for quite some time, but for me, that imposed will has always been the thing I put on the back burner. So as I'd focus on fighting, and like I would kind of put out a product here, and then I would just put it back on the back burner, and I put out a product and then I'd put it on the back burner. So it's kind of been this thing that's with me, but I've never really, I've just always put it on the back burner, where I've always worked on these other things, whether it was fighting or doing the podcast. And then I have all this momentum with the podcast. So for this past, like I'd say at least this past like week or a couple weeks, I've kind of been putting the podcast on the back burner, where I've been really head down on some things with imposed will, because I'm about to release some things. But there has to be a way to find the balance. So it's I feel like at this point I have at least a good enough workflow with the podcast to where I can make that work as I'm doing imposed will. But I always have this thought in my mind. Are you familiar with Andy Frisella?
Yeah, First Form.
Yeah, First Form. So, I can't remember what episode, like this old episode of the MFCEO project, he said something that has just really stuck with me, where it's, if you're a person who's, you're an entrepreneur, whatever the industry is, say you're making widgets, but then you also have this other thing that makes this other, but you also have this other thing, so you have two businesses, kind of like how we do. So you can't be 100% on each business, because you only have 100% of you. So at best you're kind of like 50-50 on each of those. But then now you're competing against somebody who's all in on this other business. So it's now you're 50% against their 100%. So if there's somebody who's only doing 100% podcasting, but I'm doing 50% podcasting and 50% imposed will, can my 50% podcasting actually beat this 100% person on podcasting? From a number perspective, no. Right. But it's like, it's not, I don't think it's that black and white, but that concept does stick in my head. Right. Because you only have so much energy. And if you aren't putting as much energy into something as somebody else is, how can you beat them?
Facts. That's good.
So it's just,
that's good, man.
I try to keep that thought in my mind, because I don't want to do too much. I don't think it's impossible to do two things. I don't think that's impossible by any stretch. And sometimes maybe it's just like getting good enough at this one thing to where it can kind of be, it can just kind of run almost on autopilot, or you have enough team to where you can now focus the other attention on building number 2 and number 3 and number 4, whatever those things are for you. But it's like, can you do two things at once? Or it's like, do you have to do all of one thing and then slowly add in number 2? You know what I mean? So
that's good.
I don't really know what the answer is. I feel like I've gone hard enough in on the podcast to where now I can really start building up imposed will. But that momentum, I did lose a lot of momentum with 2020. So it's like, I got to get that going. So I don't know, man. I'm just, these are the thoughts, man. These are the thoughts.
No, you saying something good to me, because I never thought about it like that. But that's the concept of 50, my 50 versus your 100, your 100 versus my 20, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
That's real, bro. That's real. And I mean, even now in my head, I'm like, all right, let me sit and really think about it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, because I think about that, like whenever my first year in the podcast, whenever I'm doing 2 episodes a week, and like I'm just balls to the wall, and I've had a lot of conversations with people who were interested in starting podcasts, or they were doing it in conjunction with this other business that they were doing. And that moment when they're talking to me about podcasting, I knew there was no fucking way in hell that they were going to be able to compete with me in podcasting, because like, this is all that I'm doing. Like, you can't compete with me. This is all that I'm doing. And you're only putting a little bit into it because your other main goal is this other thing. You know what I mean? So
that's good, bro.
I think about it a lot, man. I think about it a lot.
Huh. Hey, bro, you speaking something to me, man. I'm telling you.
There's a balance there. There's a balance, but it can be done.
It's a constant struggle. It's as an entrepreneur, and you said something powerful. When you wake up, you sit with your thoughts, you figure out how you're gonna attack the day. And those moments for me are more difficult at different times. Sometimes I wake up and I'm like, what the heck am I doing today? I got a spread. I got this, I got this, I got this, I got this, I got this. How do I condense this? What should I be focused on during this season? You know, what should I be focused on today? What's happening next 2 weeks? Like, since you in control of everything, it's like, all right, what should I? And then if I don't, I'm like, I'm just gonna go work out. Then you spend 2 hours working out, and then you're like, dang, the day is almost gone.
Yeah.
Like,
before you know it,
so I've even had to revamp how I put, because I can work out, man. Working out has always become it was always an addiction to me. It was always an addiction, man. Like when I get into working out, it's like I can't stop. I can't stop, bro. Like for real, I can work out for hours. Man. It was just thing, and it just can't. And so I've had to put that in check, man. So now, 2021, I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna spend no more than an hour working out. That is good use of my time. 2 hours is not good use of my time. An hour is, when I was training, when I was a professional, it was different. Because I got paid to work out. But right now, I'm not getting paid to work out. Of course, working out is a part of my brand and everything, but I'm not getting paid directly for working out. So I was like, all right, I gotta really put that in check. So I try to work out 1 hour a day, man, and that's it. So I can get on with my day and put my life and put my day into proper perspective, man. But no, I get it, man. It's I think I'm losing you a little bit. This is a very there we go. Okay. Yeah, I thought I lost you for a second.
Cool. Yeah, I thought I lost you too.
But yeah, so working out for me, man, it's only an hour a day right now, man. I just got to put my day into perspective, man. So
yeah, dude, that makes sense, man. Like, I mean, I had to make that same transition to where I'm not working out for this athletic performance it's more for longevity and just life.
Right.
Now. So you just gotta make that transition. I think the answer really is just inserting discipline, right? Like discipline.
Right.
It sounds so cliche, but discipline really is freedom. It really is, man. Just
facts.
Dude, it just makes life so much easier. You don't have to think about things so much. You just get it done. Because we all feel that resistance. You know what I mean? The things I need to do most, I probably have the most resistance to. It's like, I really need to do this. So I don't want to do it. So it's like just being disciplined and just getting it done. For me, creating a checklist, like doing I do like the power list thing where at least 5 things a day, I have to get these 5 critical tasks done every day.
That's good.
Whatever those are. So it helps me get over the idea of where I have to do 100 things in a day. At least I got these 5 critical things that are going to move me forward towards my goal. And then everything else after that's at least bonus. So at least if I get these 5 things done, then it's a win. So at the very least, I won the day, man. And that's just been critical because, you put enough wins together, man. Like you win today and you win tomorrow. You just take it a day at a time. Before you know it, you win the year, and now you're kicking ass at life, like for real.
That's good, bro. That's real good. That's real good, man. Hopefully I'm not losing you again. Maybe though. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the conversation. I'm with my friend Adam Meredith out of St. Louis. And make sure you guys go to dreammusclecoffee.com and support. Oh, there we go. There we go. Hey, what book are you reading right now?
Oh, dude, I'm actually about to start this book called Survival. It was lent to me by a guy named Todd Fox, who I just had on the podcast. Okay. And he was like, man, if you like my book and if you like this other book, I can't remember what it was, but he wrote a book called Protection for and from Humanity. He's a protection expert. Like he's done protection for pretty much anyone and everybody in Hollywood. Motley Crue, Madonna, Guy Ritchie, all these huge bands. And he lent me this book about surviving, I think essentially in the wilderness. I wish I had it next to me, but I have this whole list. So after that, I'm probably going to read Winning by Tim Grover. I just got this book called The Parasitic Mind by Gad Saad. which is about like infectious thoughts, kind of ending common sense, if you will. I have a whole slew of books that I really just I'm always buying something and adding it to the list. I bought this book. I bought Anthony Bourdain's Kitchen Confidential book because I have a friend who read it and then essentially went to culinary school. Kind of helped influence him to, be a chef. And Anthony Bourdain is such a good storyteller. I bought that book and I still haven't read it. I read it. I really need to read it. Yeah. It's kind of sad that guy died, for sure. He was a very interesting storyteller.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I want to check out the Tim Grover's book, Winning. I read his last book, the last book he
Relentless?
put out. Yeah, that was good, bro.
Great book. Yeah.
That was a good
book. Dude, you know a book I really loved? I bought it after he died. Kobe Bryant's book. What's it called? It's
the one he did.
Mamba Mentality. The Mamba Mentality. It's a really big book. It's mostly pictures, but it has a lot of his thoughts on different matchups in the game, and you get his mentality. And man, I didn't realize just there's levels to this shit with everything. I didn't realize, because having been a wrestler, like I played basketball in like middle school, and then in high school I went to wrestling, and that's also during the same season. So we always made fun of basketball players, like, oh, because in reality, basketball players just are not as tough as wrestlers. It's just
no,
right. So reading his thoughts, it put a whole new perspective on basketball for me, on how physical that game really is and how grueling that game really can be, like on the body. And man, just to read his mentality is just exceptional, man. Like you can apply some of his principles anywhere in your life. It was an amazing read.
Yeah, no, I haven't read it, but I definitely I definitely believe what you're saying, because like I tell people all the time, I wasn't a Kobe Bryant fan on the basketball court. Not to say he wasn't a phenomenal. He was a phenomenal basketball player, probably one of the greatest ever played the game. But I didn't like him because I'm always with the underdog, bro.
I get it. And, hey, listen, not everybody's for everybody. That's okay too.
But I followed him heavily after he retired in business. I've probably watched but I've probably watched 90% of the interviews he put out. And I was, for the last several years, every time I got on YouTube, I would always try to find a Kobe Bryant interview on business and his mentality. Mm-hmm. And man, you're right. I mean, he was doing some big things, man, even outside the court.
Yeah.
And his mentality on things was crazy, man. It was really crazy.
Yeah, it didn't matter what he did in life. He was going to be successful.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so that was kind of cool. Well, cool, man. So, what's next? Like, what are you working on? Like, what's the next? Anything big coming up? You working on things? You working on anything significant? What does next year look like for you?
Yeah, for me, I mean, it's just kind of more of the same with the podcast. Just continuing to sit down with awesome people and put out more conversations and really keep the momentum going with that. We have some pretty cool things with Imposed Will in the pipeline. Here, actually, in the next few days, I'm going to be dropping some tank tops and shirts and stuff for the
That's what's up, bro.
4th of July. I'm working on some rash guards and shorts for the jiu-jitsu community, and they have a few other designs. So just going to be continuously dropping just different products throughout the year for Imposed Will. Just kind of really getting the reach out with that. And I mean, that's most of my focus right now from a business perspective. And then like the thing I'm most excited about, dude, here in a couple of weeks, like the family and I, we're all going road trip to the Grand Canyon, bro. So we're gonna take a week-long road trip, drive out there, spend a couple days at the Grand Canyon, and then go to like Moab, Utah, spend a couple days, drive back through the mountains, just spend some good family time, dude. I'm pretty excited about that. So that's
what's up, bro. That's cool. That's real cool. Do you have a favorite quote?
A favorite quote? Man, I don't really have. So right now, like I said, I'm really living my life right now at the moment by that less impressed, more involved. And then I'm just, I'm a big believer in just, just the whole mantra of just saying, like, I will, just, make that statement and you truly believe it, and you fill in the blank after that, man. But whatever you set your mind to, man, like, you can do it, because I truly believe that our mind is the key to achieving any goal in life. So it starts with the mind. You have to truly believe in yourself. You have to put in the work and live with intention. But just saying I will, and you fill in the blank, man, you can do it, man. Like, go out and impose your will.
Facts. What would you say? What kind of words would you give a young fighter, 21, 20, 21, 18, 19, trying to find his way, want to move to the professional ranks? Like, what kind of words of wisdom would you give that guy?
Man,
knowing that you have went through all that.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with fighting or any pursuit is consistency is key. Like, you have to be consistent. You can't start and then stop and then try to restart and then stop. Like, you have to be consistent, and then just go all in, man. Go all in and be patient. It's going to take time. Nothing happens overnight, but like, go all in. I can't tell you how many times throughout the years I've seen people halfway go in and it never works out, and including myself. I can tell you the times where I was half in and the times I was all the way in, and the results speak for themselves. So you have to go all in.
That's what's up, bro. That's cool, man. Well, I definitely, man, like I said, I'm gonna have you back, man. But I've enjoyed this conversation for sure, bro.
Yeah, dude, this has been.
I've enjoyed it. Real quick, man, what do you want your legacy to be? Like, what do you want to be remembered for?
Oh man, that's a good one. That's a great question. I always say I want my kids to remember how awesome my breakfast was whenever I cooked them breakfast. I don't want them to ever forget that I cook breakfast for them. I always do that. But yeah. Man, I just want to just leave just like positivity on the world, man. I really do. I just want people to just like remember me for just charging them up. My favorite interactions in the world are when I sit down with somebody or I meet them and then I leave that interaction and I just feel so energized and I feel like I can actually achieve some things and I feel excited about going and doing the thing that I love doing. So I just want to also be that for other people, man. I really just want to leave a positive impact and just really build some shit that's going to change some lives. Like, I'm really trying to build a community with Imposed Will, and I want to help and change some things. But ultimately, I just want people to just remember, how they felt after meeting me.
Facts, bro. They say, people always remember how you made them feel.
Right. So, it's not what you say, it's how you make them feel, right?
That's cool, bro. So where can people find you at? You have a website,
man, I'm mostly probably Instagram is the best spot. Just Adam Meredith _. You can check out the podcast at outside perspective _podcast, or just go to outsideperspectivepodcast.com, imposedwill.com, Imposed Will on all socials. Yeah, man, just check me out. I'm trying to get into the TikTok thing.
So
you probably found me on there.
Dude, so my daughter was like, "Daddy, you need a TikTok. You need a TikTok." So they set me up a TikTok, man. They drafted me like 4 different posts. They did some creative stuff with my drinks and whatnot, but I haven't done anything with it since but they was like, "Hey, you need to get on TikTok." I'm like, "All right," I got on there, and I got one post up, so.
I'm right there with you. I just don't want to be that old dude who ignored YouTube back in the day, or ignored Facebook back in the day, or ignored Instagram back in the day, and then now you miss all these dollars.
I tell you what, one of my biggest regrets today is YouTube, bro.
Dude, ditto. We were there.
Dude, I started my YouTube account in 2008 or 2009 and sat on it, bro.
Bro, I learned about YouTube in 2005. I was at a summer camp and these girls were like, "Aren't you on YouTube?" I'm like, "What is YouTube? What are you talking about?" Had no idea. And then
missed it.
You do. It's just like you can't see the potential. So now whenever I see things, I try to not take it for what it is, but what it could be. And that's just a whole mind shift I'm trying to reach. Just like that Gary V stuff. I'm trying to get on that level.
Think about all the people. I missed Instagram too, bro.
Sort of. Yeah, it's not as easy.
Kinda. Yeah. So it's not. So I got on Instagram when Instagram first came out. I was on Instagram, but I didn't know what to do with it. So I just
you post stupid pictures. I didn't understand there was no algorithm. I didn't understand I could just reach all these people. I didn't understand I could market to these people and get real interactions. I didn't understand the value of that. You know what I mean?
But when that Instagram first came out, Instagram probably created so many millionaires, man, just off of like them creating businesses and you know, and at that time, even with the hashtag on Instagram, hopefully I'm not losing you again.
There we go.
Okay. On Instagram early on, man, even with the hashtags, man, you can put a hashtag up, dude, get like 500 likes, man. Like it was crazy at the beginning.
I know. And that's what TikTok is today. And even LinkedIn is like that now, if that's a platform. Yeah.
Bro. Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I'm with you, bro. But yeah,
bro. Dude, I'm gonna drive out to Kansas City. We'll have to chat like in person.
For sure, bro. Hey, I would love to have you out here, man. For sure, bro. That'd be cool, man. Yeah, I'm telling you, bro, this was a good conversation. I learned a lot. This is what I tell people: conversations rule the world, man. And by you sitting down with you, bro, like, I mean, you was preaching to me on some, you know what I'm saying? Just like, because the thing I love, number one, I love how consistent you are, and I love how mindful you are. And just the honesty, man, you like, hey, I'm a one-man band. I'm trying to push this like everything else. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I don't like working on the podcast. I like doing the podcast. I don't like working on, and that's kind of how I am. I'm like, hey, I'm not trying to be nothing that I'm not, man. I'm just trying to figure this thing out, man. Trying to figure it out, bro.
That's all any of us is doing, man. We're all just figuring it out. No one has the answer. We're all just figuring it out as we go, bro.
Yeah, that's it, man. So, but man, thanks so much, bro. I appreciate you, man. And I'll have you back on, or you can come out to Kansas City, man, and we can make it happen again, bro. But much luck to you, man. And whatever, if you need anything, man, just let me know, bro. If you guys have not been to dreammusclecoffee.com, please go support and yeah. Oh, there we go.